What are some of the things to do or not do on social media during or pre-divorce?
Tackle the pre-divorce first. Though I guess the questions are somewhat interrelated. One of the things that you don't want to do is to talk bad about your spouse, talk bad about your kids, um, because the issue that people invariably have is, especially the more money that's involved, the more your spouse has the theoretical capability of hiring an IT expert. And whether people realize it or not, like a lot of people access their social media off apps, so like Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and they don't realize that any one of those social media apps are actually on the internet itself. So anything you put on the app, it is immediately spit out to the internet just simultaneously, because that's essentially what an app is. It's just facilitating your ability to access a website. Just bear that in mind, that literally anything that you put on Facebook or Twitter or whatever else is also immediately on the internet and searchable. And people think wrongly that if they set their privacy settings in a certain way, that somehow means that there's no possible way their spouse can get a hold of stuff. Well, it can be done in one of two ways. Either you're friends with somebody on, Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever, that then ends up sharing that either directly with your spouse or shares it with somebody that is in turn aligned with your spouse. So that's one way your spouse can get stuff like that. Another way your spouse can get stuff like that is, as I was alluding to earlier, there's enough money involved. Your spouse could hire an IT expert that can go in and look at your electronic entries, and they can get beyond the privacy settings. So literally anything that you put on there, they can get, including things that you've deleted. So if people put, pictures of them snorting cocaine on the kitchen table, and they're like, oh my God, I'm about to file for a divorce, let me delete that because maybe that might make me look bad. The problem is again, if the spouse has enough money to hire a good IT expert, they can go in, they can get that retrieved email, text, social media post, etc., and then that can be used against you. So if you do have any bad posts like that, you can certainly attempt to delete them as soon as possible, but then it might actually be recommended to hire an IT expert yourself, to then go in and try and do a clean wipe of your social media, emails, texts, etc., to make sure that there's no ghost postings around that could be retrieved by another IT expert. So that would be observation number one. The other thing that, beyond just kind of talking bad about your spouse or about your kids, and you'd be amazed at how often people post things about their kids that portray them in a bad light, and put that out to what they think are just friends or relatives of theirs. But again, those things can be searchable. So I'm always kind of amazed that people post stuff like that about their kids. But the other thing that you want to do is don't post anything about your divorce case itself, either going into the divorce case or during the divorce case itself. Definitely don't talk about the divorce case. Why? Because anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. So if you start posting things about the divorce case and unwittingly post the wrong thing, be prepared for your spouse to be able to get that. Sometimes it's just a matter of them running into the judge and just trying to make you look bad and saying, Judge, see, we just had court and he's on Twitter posting things about the hearing that we just did. No judge is going to like that. And they are going to, in all likelihood, enter a specific court order that would then subject you to contempt of court and direct that you not do that in the future. But that's kind of an after the fact thing. They still won't be pleased that you did that in the first place. So if you're aiming to do stuff like that, and people get mad all the time because they go to court, the judge rules against them in some way, shape, or form, and then they immediately run out and post something on Facebook and say, see what this horrible judge just did. Be prepared for the fact that if it's especially the more hotly contested case, the more likely this is to occur. You talk bad about the judge, your spouse's counsel gets a hold of that post. They'll write a letter to the judge. They'll attach that post and they'll say, kind of neutrally phrased, well, Judge, apparently they're going on and talking about the case on Facebook, and we just asked for direction that they not do that, and then attaches your post in which you just spoke bad about the judge. The judge is going to now see that. Imagine, if you will, any judge that sees that and, put yourself in their shoes, they're probably not going to like you for the rest of the case. And by the way, that does not create a conflict of interest. So I've had messy cases where people have spoken bad or whined or complained about the judge on social media. It gets back to the judge, and then that party says, oh, well, now the judge has it in for me. Now I want to file a motion to get the judge changed. Well, guess what? You're not going to be successful because you created the conflict. Wasn't the judge that created the conflict. So in all likelihood, that motion is going to get denied. The only theoretical way it would get granted is if you file a motion to have the judge recused and the judge agrees, him or herself, that they cannot maintain impartiality in your case. And the chances of that happening are probably a snowball's chance in Hades. So good luck with that. The other obvious thing that you don't want to post either before or during the case are posts that put you in a bad light. So don't post pictures or videos of you out drinking or doing drugs at 2-3 o'clock in the morning when you otherwise should be home with the kids, et cetera, et cetera. There's more subtle things that people should be wary of in regards to social media, which is I've had cases where mom wants to say, well, gee, I take care of the kids a lot more than dad. And dad's never around, and he's out with his friends and he's out, with his coworkers. And how do I prove that? Well, one of the ways, not the only way, but one of the ways you prove that is by getting the social media posts. If dad says, oh yeah, I'm always there when the kids get out of school, or there most of the time, and you can download social media posts where at the time they get out of school, they're actually posting something about, the fact that they're out drinking at happy hour routinely. That's going to come back to haunt you. So you really want to be mindful about posts like that as well. So the best method of knowing what and what not to post is just go over that with your attorney. Discuss hey, I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. What are the do's and don'ts in respect to my case? Because what I just said in this video are kind of general parameters, but there might be case-specific parameters that you should be discussing with your attorney rather than just kind of going off half-cocked, and then your attorney finds out about it in court, which is not